That's why I went to a doctor just to do this. I checked everything already, like last year. Everything is healthy. Only thing I didn't check yet is my heart, but I feel great. So
What's up guys, Derek, moreplatemoreleats.com. Today we're going to be reacting to Generation Iron's video they put up a few days ago of Dennis Wolfe detailing the medical realities of retiring from pro bodybuilding. So if you don't know Dennis Wolfe, he is a legend in the sport. He has one of the sickest physiques fucking ever. Like, this guy is one of my favorite bodybuilders from the, I don't know, like 2010 ish era. He's not like a super old school guy, but he's like, I guess like nowadays he's sort of getting there. Like, he's around you know, the 2010s era ish, and he has now since downsized quite significantly, and you know, now he's I guess more able to talk about what went into his bodybuilding career from the pharmacology side, or more specifically from, you know, health management. I don't think he's really talked about what he actually used gear-wise or whatnot, but it gives us a lot of insight into what these top IFBB pros who were like walking around at like 300 plus pounds, what exactly they were doing and how proactive they were being about their health. And in this video, Dennis basically goes through what he did to stay on top of his stuff and make sure he's healthy to continue bodybuilding and whatnot. So I wanted to just go through it with you guys because there was something very glaring that stood out to me in terms of what he said. So let's get into it.
I talked to a lot of bodybuilders that retired, and they said when they were competing, they never went to a doctor because they didn't want to like discover something. They were focused on competing. Do you think that's true? Were you the same way? Like you kind of avoided going to the doctor?
So I can see why a lot of bodybuilders would do that, because it's like, you know, what's the saying? It's like out of sight, out of mind, where it's like it just doesn't exist if you don't actually see it on a piece of paper and like find out. So a lot of these guys would just, it sounds like this is actually, I don't actually know a lot of like pro bodybuilders from, you know, 90s, 2010s era or anything like that, but I know a lot of bodybuilders and a lot of them do this same shit. They just get absolutely nothing done, and they will they know how important it is, but they would rather just, you know, they're expecting the worst, so they just like don't want to find out, because if they don't see it, then it's like it doesn't exist and they can just keep bodybuilding and fucking popping A-bombs and whatnot. So anyways, I understand this perspective. It's just unfortunate that I guess it's a bit of a mental struggle that some guys just like can't, you know, it's part of the game though. You just gotta kind of suck it up and fucking do it. So it kind of sucks, but anyways, here we go.
no, I think it's true, but I was not the guy.
Or you,
No, no.
you would go?
Oh yeah, of course. I check my blood twice a year, always before my prep and after the prep.
Okay, so Dennis goes on to say how he was not one of those guys, and he was, you know, on top of his shit, and he would get blood work done twice a year. So first of all, I don't know, like, I think people are becoming more educated as the years, like maybe in the past few years, as the importance of like actually getting like ultrasounds done, even getting like advanced imaging done with fMRIs and whatnot. I think bodybuilders are starting to realize the importance, like above and beyond like just blood work, because so much shit you're not going to see in your blood work. You could have, you know, a fucking tumor on your liver and it's not going to show in your ALT and your AST. There's so many things. Like when you see your heart, if it's like, you know how many guys have normal blood pressure, normal resting heart rate, but then their heart is like so much fucking bigger than it should be, or it has a blockage built up or something. Like there's so many things that you can't just look at a very basic metric and be like, oh look, my red blood cell count is in check, my hematocrit is in check, everything is in check, my liver enzymes are fine, my kidney parameters are fine, therefore my heart's fine. It's like, no dude, like, have you had any echocardiography done? Have you had an fMRI? Have you done any of this shit? No one really has, to be honest. But I think in more recent years, bodybuilders are starting to realize that it is quite important at the end of the day. But it's just interesting how Dennis, who presumably is a lot more longevity and like health minded now, is saying how, oh yeah, I did, you know, I was the guy on top of it, but I had 2 blood tests, one before and one after.
So, and each time, I mean, if I did 2 seasons, I did this the same way, you know, before and after. But yes, I understand, and I heard a lot of the same stories that most of them don't go.
So is getting, like, obviously you already get my stance on actually getting more advanced testing done and the necessity of it above and beyond just basic blood work parameters. But as far as even the blood test itself, is 2 a year sufficient when you are a bodybuilder who is blasting mega dosages with multiple compounds for, at, you know, like fucking 260 pounds lean? The thing that stood out to me the most, besides, like, honestly, I wasn't really expecting him to go into echocardiography, ultrasound of your liver, kidneys, none of that shit. I don't really expect any of these guys to even, like, it would be great if they knew about it and, like, you know, put out the message of how important it is to other bodybuilders who look up to them, because these guys are the legends of the sport and should put out good information that helps, you know, harm reduction and whatnot. But I was, like, pretty shocked that he didn't even get blood work in the middle of his blast. Like, the guy is preaching, well, he's not preaching, he's basically outlining how he did, you know, stay on top of his shit, but he would only get blood work before and after. It's like, what about the fucking 4 months that you had 3 grams of gear in your system? Like, do you think that the TRT times are indicative of what's going on for the other 50% of the year, where your body's literally going through war and is so fucking stressed out and things are all over the map? Like, I would want to see your blood work before, after, and right fucking smack dab in the middle. So for me, I feel like this isn't necessarily wrong of him to, like, he's just saying what he thinks is correct, at least in my opinion. Like, I don't, like, he's obviously not intentionally giving out bad information and making it seem like, oh yeah, you should get it done once before, once after. I just think it's so overlooked that guys aren't realizing, what is your state of health like during maximum fucking drug exposure? These cycles are not short. You are literally on a blast phase if you're doing a multiple contests a year, or even if you're just doing one contest a year and you're prepping for the Olympia. Like, presumably your prep is at least like 12 to 16 weeks. You're looking at like 3 to 4 months of like heavy fucking duty drug exposure. And then if you're doing multiple shows per year, like what? You're on fucking heavy gear for, like, plus everything else, like not even just counting anabolic androgenic steroids, for like 8-10 months of the year. You're at super physiological dosages far above the therapeutic replacement amount, and you're not getting blood work done during that time at all. Like, to me, that seems very, very poor judgment and is not reflective of what's going on. Just because your lipids look acceptable and your metabolic parameters look acceptable and your hematology looks acceptable and your C-reactive protein looks acceptable for fucking 2 months of the year, what about the other 10 months of the year where you were on 500 mgs of trend per week, when you were on 1,000 milligrams of test, when you were taking fucking A-bombs, blah, 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 blah. You know, like, it's like, I can understand having a general acceptance that, okay, my blood work's gonna be fucked up, so what's the point of looking at it when I'm on a blast? It's like, there has to be some line you have to draw for yourself where it's like, even if I'm in the middle of a fucking heavy duty blast, like, how ridiculous am I going to let my blood work get? How ridiculous am I going to let my echocardiography get? How ridiculous am I going to let my blood pressure get? How ridiculous am I going to let my resting heart rate get? How ridiculous am I going to let my sleep metrics get? My sleep apnea? All this shit, there has to be some line in the sand, and it should be checked at peak exposure, in my opinion, not just before and after. So let's see what else he says here.
Because they think if they figure something out, you know, something wrong is going on, that's end of the world for them. But I think if you figure out it early enough, you can, you know, work on it and you know, get old medicine or whatever. I mean, and also it's not just, to figure out, what's wrong with me, but like keeping it under control, I think is most important. If you just stay like going to the doctor like every 3 months, I mean, there's no chance that something it's unseen or whatever. So they always gonna see something is going on or not. So I think it's more important to prevent all this stuff, not just doing like 10 years something bad, or thinking doing something bad, and then, you know, trying, you know, not to go to the doctor in case you see something, you know. So it's weird. It's you know, bodybuilders are weird people anyways, because, you know, we like to suffer and all this stuff, but this is already a little bit weird, I would say. It ends wrong. You gotta be aware what's going on in your body and what's okay and what's not. Yeah.
Okay, so honestly, at the end of the day, it seems like he's putting out like the same message I basically just elaborated on, but just he doesn't get to the extent. Like, he thinks in his mind this is being proactive and this is being thorough, which it frankly is like a pathetic attempt at being thorough. And that's not on him or a fault of his. Maybe that's what his coach told him back in the day was fine. Well, maybe that's just what he assumes is fine because that's what his doctor said. I don't know. But at the end of the day, like, the message he is promoting is good overall. Be proactive, get in front of it. It's, this is bodybuilding. It's not necessarily the fucking safest sport ever. You should be getting your shit checked very frequently and staying on top of it. But to make people think that like one blood test before and after is somehow sufficient, it's like, no. So I'm not going to be redundant and explain the same thing I just explained again. Why? I'll do another video in the future probably addressing the exact blood work I would get, because there's a lot of ambiguity, I guess, around what is important as far as biomarkers and whatnot, and as far as risk factors and things to look out for above and beyond just your basic like anti-aging panel kind of thing, which, this is part of the reason I actually ended up getting involved in the HRT space, because I was sick of, like, I'd be an affiliate for these like fucking pre-designed, lab work companies and whatnot. And I'd have these crap labs that I had to promote, like, not had to, but it was like the only thing I could do was promote like a $500 panel, which was missing like a bunch of shit I wanted. And then you have to add each one separately for like another $100. It's like, some of these like anti-aging panels are like so not optimized for a guy who is trying to actually be on the cutting edge of staying on top of his health with actual biomarkers that matter, that actually typically aren't included. Things that measure inflammation in the body, like where's the C-reactive protein, whereas your fucking, like, an actual assessment of your kidney function, where's an actual assessment of your insulin resistance parameters. Like, there's so many things that just go overlooked in basic blood work that it's kind of, it's baffling that these panels aren't like regularly updated to reflect like the new literature coming out. So for me, anyways, that's just sort of like a bit of a side ramble on like why I, got involved with like the lab workspace and whatnot. But yeah, I'll do an updated video on, blood work in the future. Hopefully in the near future, I'll do one on additional tests you should get above and beyond just basic blood work, because that's something that everyone thinks it's just blood work. And it's like, no, that's the bare fucking minimum, like, without question. So what is the takeaway? Dennis is trying to promote a good message here, but like, self-admittedly, he hasn't even looked at his heart himself. Like, this is a clip I actually forgot to include at the start of the video where he literally says he's done everything except look at his heart.
That's why I went to a doctor just to do this. I checked everything already, like last year, everything is healthy. Only thing I didn't check yet is my heart.
So, I don't know if he's never checked it. Sounds like that's the case, because during his competitive career, he only got blood work before and after, he said. So, he hasn't actually checked his literal organs yet with echocardiography or anything of that nature. So, I don't know, like, takeaway is the same thing I mentioned earlier, and I'll get into more detail in another video, but blood work isn't the end all be all, guys. And especially the timing of it, get it at times that make sense. Like, yes, get it before and after, but also get it dead set in the fucking middle where you can actually see what's going on for the majority of the year when you're actually exposing yourself to all this toxic shit. So anyways, take from that what you will. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out my blog, More Plates. Just fucked up my own website, moreplatesmoredates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates_moredates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description down below, my HRT clinic, as well as Gorilla Mind, Gorilla Mode, my turnkey nootropic and pre-workout formulas I designed from scratch myself, and anything else I am associated with in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.